And for the final lesson of number systems, we're going to learn how to add and subtract binary numbers. Now, there are a lot of different strategies out there. We're going to keep it as simple as possible, and we're going to put a whole bunch of little caveats on it. For example, when I ask you to do something, if I ask you to subtract, I'm never going to give you a situation that could result in a negative number. We're not going to deal with things like decimals or anything like that. We're going to just keep it simple, whole binary numbers that always end up the way we would expect. So, moving on. Quick little review of what binary numbers are. The binary number system is, of course, called the base 2 number system. Its purpose is, of course, to allow computers to do math, store data, and just basically perform all the operations we expect computers to do. Binary number system only consists of 2 digits, 0 and 1. So now that we recall what they are and what they're used for, let's figure out how to work with them. So binary addition. The good thing is binary addition is not far off of regular decimal addition. In fact, it's pretty much exactly the same. We just have to remember that we're only working with the digits 0 and 1. So if you recall, if you add up regular numbers, all you need to do is line up your columns. And once you've lined up the columns, you add all the numbers in that column. Whenever you exceed the maximum size of the column, so for example, if we're in a regular number system, if we ended up adding, let's say, 6 and 5, that would be an 11. We can't fit an 11 in a single column. So we keep the right digit and we carry the left digit. We carry it to the next column to be part of that one. So, in binary, it's pretty much the same idea. You're going to add the digits. Whenever you add 2 ones, you're going to need to carry to the next column. So let's take a look at this. So this is just a regular decimal number. We see 17 plus 25. We lined up the columns. Now we're going to add up the individual columns. 7 plus 5 is, of course, 12. Well, if it's 12, we can't fit 12 in the column. So we keep the right digit and we carry the left digit. So we keep the 2 and we carry the 1. Now that final column is 1 plus 1 plus 2, which is, of course, 4. So we end up with 42. Binary is going to work the exact same way. But to simplify this just a little bit further, let me give you a quick 5 basic rule setup. So just memorize these and you'll be fine, but they're all pretty common sense, so you probably won't even need to memorize them. First of all, your basic math skills. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is still 1. 1 plus 0, still 1. Now we get into the things that are a little bit more challenging. 1 plus 1. I'm going to draw your attention back up to the blue here. Assume all values below are in base 2. So this is not a 10. It is a 1, 0. Now if we do the conversion, we know that 1, 0 equates to 2 in decimal. Well, 1 plus 1 is 2. Oh, that makes sense now, doesn't it? 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 1, 0. But just like when we were adding the decimal numbers, we cannot keep 2 digits in a single column. So we're going to keep the 0 and we're going to carry the 1 to the next column. That may result in a scenario like this. 1 plus 1 plus 1. Well, we know that's 3. Right? Okay, no problem. Well, in binary, 3 is the equivalent of 1, 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, 1. But again, we can't keep that in a single column. So we keep 1 and we carry 1. Let's do some examples. So try this out first. You try them all out. Hit pause, see if you can do it. And when you come back, we'll go through it together. Assuming you're back now, let's take a look. So all we're going to do is basically add up the columns one at a time. 1 plus 1. Well, our rule says that is 1, 0, because 1 plus 1 is 2. So we're going to keep the 0, and we're going to carry the 1. Right? So we're going to keep the 0 and carry the 1. And then that 1 is just going to be added to 2 zeros. Well, that's just going to be 1. And then this 1 is added to a 0 as well. So also a 1. Over on the right side, we have a little bit more complication because we're going to be carrying a lot more numbers over. So I'm going to bring all this in so you can see it all. See how it works. So here we have 1 plus 1. Well, we know that's 1, 0. So we keep the 0 and we carry the 1. Oh, we finally ended up in this fifth situation. 1 plus 1 plus 1. Well, that's 1, 1. So we keep 1 and we carry 1. And we got the exact same thing again. We keep 1, we carry 1. Now we just have 1 plus 1. Well, that's 1, 0. We keep the 0, and we carry the 1. But since it's all by itself, we can just bring it down. So this is our final answer. So 1 plus, or 1, 1, 1, 1 plus 0, 1, 1, 1 is the equivalent of 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Now I want you to try this last one on your own. I'm not going to go over this directly, but you should be able to get this based on these two options. Okay, so that's binary addition. Just follow those 5 basic rules. Don't overthink it. Just follow the rules. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. But you got to think in terms of binary. 1 plus 1 is 1, 0. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1, 1. Okay, so if that's binary addition, let's try subtraction. Subtraction is not much different. It still mimics the same way we work with decimals. What do? You stack the columns. You line them up. And what's the next step? You subtract the second number from the first number. All right, so you subtract the bottom number from the top number. And that's all you need to do. However, you may run into the situation where the top number is not big enough. So for example, you might end up with a 3 subtract 5. Well, you can't subtract 5 from 3. So what you got to do? You have to borrow some from the next column over. Let's take a look at decimal version. That's just a highlighting telling you that I'm never going to give you that situation where it becomes negative. So let's look at this one. Right away, we see the problem. 2 minus 4. Well, you can't do that. So what do we need to do? We need to borrow from the next column. So that 1 takes 1, gets 1 taken away from it, so it becomes a 0. And the 2 gets the 1 added to it, or really 10, and now it's at 12. 12 minus 4 is, of course, 8. 0 minus 0 is 0, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So we end up with 108. Binary is going to work the exact same way. If we can't subtract from the top, number, we're going to have to borrow from the next column over. So let's take a look at this. Again, we're going to assume our rules here. We're going to assume all the values below are in base 2. We only have 4 rules this time. 0 minus 0, 0. 1 minus 1, 0. 1 minus 0, 1. And finally, we get a step that actually is a challenge when we have 1, 0 minus 1. Well, that's just a 1. Because remember, 1, 0 is really 2. It's really 2 in decimal. Well, 2 minus 1 is just 1. That's it. That's all there is to subtraction. So let's go take a look. Now, I'm going to bring these up and I'll just explain this so we can see these things. So we just line up the columns and we subtract them one at a time. 1 minus 1, well, that's 0. 1 minus 0, that's still 1. 0 minus 0, that's 0. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's our final answer. Now you might say, do I need to keep those zeros there? Not technically, but it doesn't hurt anything to keep them there. So I actually did 2 versions of this. So on this one, I didn't take them away, and on the next one, I did. Just to show you that it really doesn't matter unless we're doing things like converting characters, in which case I asked you to round it out to 8 bits. But this is not that. So let's go over to the next one. So the next one was 1, 0, 1, 1, subtract 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. I think I might have said an extra 1 there. So 1 minus 1, that's 0. 1 minus 1, still 0. 0 minus 1, we can't do it. So we have to borrow. This 0 needs to borrow from the next column. So that 1 gets crossed out and it becomes a 0. And now we drop a 1 right here. Now you're going to say, well, that's a 10. No, it's not. This is binary. 1, 0 is really just a 2. So 2 subtract 1 is 1. 0 subtract 0? Well, it's 0. So we just left it out. All right, it's your turn. Don't forget to show your work. When I'm marking these things, I'm going to be looking for these borrows and the carries. You need to show me that. Otherwise, as far as I know, you just typed it into a calculator and you didn't actually do the work. So you need to show me that you actually understand the process here. Okay? So how do we actually check our answers? You know, whenever we're doing mathematics, we always want to be able to check and verify our answers. Well, there's 2 ways. There's a long way and a short way. I'll show you them both. The first way is the long way. So assume you have like 2 binary numbers and you say, like, let's say you're adding 1, 1 to 1, 0. 1, 1 plus 1, 0. Really, that's, well, we'll come back to that. So it's 1, 1 plus 1, 0. If you do the math, you're going to end up with 1, 0, 1. Okay? You think, are you sure, Mr. Lane? Yes, I am sure. So 1, 1 plus 1, 0 is going to give us 1, 0, 1. How do we check that? Well, the more long, complicated way is you convert each binary number to decimal. So we convert 1, 1, we know that becomes a 3. Convert 1, 0, we know that becomes a 2. We convert 1, 0, 1, we know that becomes a 5. Well, now if we do the math using the decimal numbers, that 3 plus the 2, it comes out to 5. Oh, that's perfect. Now we know that it works. So we just convert every little piece, and then we get the result. And if it's what we expect, good, we're done. So that's the long way, because to do that, you have to do multiple conversions, then you still have to do extra math. That's a lot of extra effort. Let's see if we can reduce this workload. Number 2 says just reverse the math. If you added, subtract. If you subtracted, add. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. If you added 2 numbers to get a third, then simply subtract the second number from that third number, and you should end up back where you started. So in this example here with decimal numbers, 2 plus 5 is equal to 7. So if I subtract that 5 from the 7, I should end up back at the 2. And I do. Check. Similarly speaking, if you subtract, then you're going to add. So if you subtracted 2 numbers to get a third, then add the third number to the second one, and you should end up back where you began. 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. So now I'm going to add these two together, 3 plus 2, and that gives me the 5. It works. Perfect. And that's all there is to it to checking your answers. So that's it for binary arithmetic. We're going to be moving on after this, but this is the end of this unit. So the test is going to comprise all of these things plus our hardware and software stuff. Good luck and get studying.